Kim is a leader. She's always been a leader. She doesn't always have to be the chairman. She can be on the committee, but she's a terrific leader, where she leads from behind or up front. She's always a leader.
KimGithler was born on April 1st, 1958 in Miami, Florida, the only child of Brenda Raybo and Richard Van Dyne.
My mother was a very beautiful and dynamic woman. My father and mother met at the Fontainebleau Hotel in Miami, where she was in a beauty pageant, and he, being a great Italian type, fell in love at first sight, and they married, and moi happened.
Her father was born in 1901 in Italy and immigrated into the United States through Ellis Island in 1916 when he was 15 years old.
He was quite an entrepreneur. He never graduated high school. He brought his family over from Italy. He went to Steuben, Ohio, where he proceeded to become quite an entrepreneur and quite successful, as many of the immigrants at that time did. My maiden name was Vadini, which is D-I-N-I, and through the passport controls and through many gyrations it was changed to Van Dyne, so I'm actually not Dutch, I'm Italian.
Her parents' marriage was short-lived. Kim lived with her mother in those beginning days. Times were challenging, as Kim's mother found it difficult coping with her marriage ending and having a child at the age of 18.
The good news was she was prophetic enough to bring in someone that was a phenomenal human being, and she was my mother's second husband's mother, and it was my Grammy Ann. So at 16 months, my Grammy Ann and I started our relationship and had a phenomenal mother all of my life.
Her Grammy Ann Rappaport, had two very successful grown sons when Kim entered her life, and her husband had just passed away from cancer. Grammy offered Kim the unconditional love and support of a nurturing mother and parent. While they had modest means, her Grammy Ann taught her to take the unknown and create possibilities.
She would hide things around the house. We came from humble means, so she would just make those opportunities soar with various, she'd probably hide $5 in 10 different places, and then one would be just an amazing gift that she would give me, and after giving it to me, she would tell the story about Jocko the monkey that actually hid all of those things in the house, which of course led my imagination to a whole new level, because I was always looking for Jocko. Never knew he was a figment of my imagination, but it was tremendous fun, and she was a phenomenal parent.
Kim was an active young girl and somewhat of a tomboy.
I never really played with the girls. The wonderful thing was I had a lot of girl cousins, and we would play kickball and hide and seek and all those wonderful things outside, but I was always a tomboy and pretty much dressed more like a boy than a girl, and always enjoyed the sports.
She received several awards for physical fitness events, placing third in the shoe scramble when she was in second grade at Bryan Day Elementary, and the next year receiving a second place in the girls' standing broad jump. Kim moved several times when she was young. While she did not stay long in any school, she was a good student who enjoyed the quest for knowledge and connecting with the school community.
I would take my tests very seriously. I would memorize a lot of things. I wish I had frankly spent a little bit more time, less in the memorizing and more in the discovery and adventure of learning, because you would remember more than you do today. But I actually was someone who liked to ace my tests. And as a result of that, I got bored very quickly.
While she lived with her mother, she frequently visited her father and his wife in Miami. He would provide Kim with a spirit of entrepreneurialism and altruism.
He was a great inventor as well as a financier. He probably built 5 or 10 assisted living and nursing homes back in the day. I would walk properties with him. He would talk to me about those types of deals and take me in the car, and I loved that. He would always say to me if I saw a rainbow that we were going to get the gold that was under the rainbow, and we would drive and drive, and of course we'd never find it, but he'd always pretend like it was there, and I was always anxious to find it, and I think to this day, I'm still looking for the gold under the rainbow.
As a girl, Kim developed a passion for community service.
I was very active in foster care as a teenager, as well as active with the elderly in assisted living facilities. It was just something that I felt a calling to, both from the standpoint of children in need, as well as the elderly who I feel sometimes are forgotten.
In junior high school, she began to shed her tomboy ways and was part of the Perry Middle School Spring Fashion Show. It was also while she was in junior high school that Grammy was older and could not care for her anymore. Her mother decided it would be best if Kim went to live with her father and his wife in Miami. She was enjoying the experience and doing well in school when in 1973, a downturn in the economy had a major impact upon her father's business.
He fell in very difficult times, and it was up to me as the only child and the person that could make the difference to go out and support my father and my stepmother, who I love dearly.
She graduated from high school in the 9th grade and applied for a position as a part-time inventory assistant at Neiman Marcus in Bal Harbour.
At that time, there was no computers to do barcodes. It was literally you take every piece of merchandise that's in a store, you write down its origination number, its price, and its volume, and you create an inventory control mechanism for Neiman Marcus.
This would be the beginning of Kim's education in business. The position was for 3 days. When it was about to end, Kim approached her manager, Lilo Delmar, in the accessory department about a full-time position.
When I did apply, I am someone that believes heavily in integrity, so I basically said to her that I was just graduated high school, but I did not really give her my age, which at that time was 15, because I was concerned that potentially I would not be hired because I was so young, but yet I projected a very old aura. So she hired me, and I went to the personnel department, and I did in fact and indeed say to them I was 18 when I was hired because I knew I couldn't get the job.
While Kim was uncomfortable not being forthcoming about her age, she knew she had to help her father and move forward in the position. She was a quick learner. At 16 years old, she received the Neiman Marcus Star Award. Within a year, she was asked by the general manager to enter a management training program for buyers, which would be conducted in Dallas.
And I had to, in essence, tell my general manager of the store my age. He was quite, at 16, he raised his eyebrows and he said, "We'll keep the paperwork the same in Dallas, and we'll pretend like we never had this conversation."
Kim was ready to move forward in the training program when she was approached by the Wasserman brothers, who owned the stores Mark Cross. Headquartered in Manhattan, they had a store in Bal Harbour. Kim was offered a position as manager of their Mark Cross Cartier store at the age of 17 after meeting with one of the brothers.
He was told I was 17, and in fact, on my 18th birthday, which I turned in New York City, I was then official with Mark Cross.
Kim excelled in the position. A few years later, when Mark Cross closed the Cartier department, she was offered the opportunity to grow with the company. When Charles Goldstein, the owner of a fashion boutique and art gallery in Bal Harbour called the 24 Collection, approached Kim to become a part of his management team.
It was more like a total store and a collection and how we put that together. And there were many more employees, and there was a rollout plan within the 24 Collection to roll stores out ultimately in Miami, that I would potentially have a general manager's position and or even a regional management position with the 24 collection. So I was very interested in moving in that direction.
By the time she was 18, her reputation as a successful sales representative was becoming known in the Miami business community. Kim was focused on her career and learning opportunities at the 24 collection when she was approached by Burton Goldberg, a very successful entrepreneur and large commercial developer in Miami. He offered her a position when she was 20 years of age as director of sales for his hotels in Coconut Grove in Miami. Kim would become an international sales director, traveling to South America and Europe, representing the Mutiny and Bounty hotels in Miami, and would forge a close bond with the Goldberg family.
I immersed myself in working with a team to create a better environment, and we as a team took the hotel to a whole new level. And I traveled around the country doing that, so that when I would meet someone and let's say I would sell 50 rooms for a high-level B2B or business, Fortune 200 companies, I would then create a package that would encourage catering, encourage restaurant use, encourage membership of the facility, encourage repeat business, and I would take that opportunity and work with a team of people, and we became a very successful entrepreneurial team within that organization, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
As director of sales, Kim was responsible for negotiating contracts for meeting rooms for large conferences. One evening in 1981, she received a call from Mr. Goldberg asking her to meet with a potential client looking for hotel meeting rooms.
It was off hours, which was also something that was a little concerning to me, but I said, sure, Burton, I'll pick him up, I'll bring him to the hotel. It was about 8 o'clock at night, and I'll hear what the presentation may be that he may want, and that gentleman was Charles Githler.
Kim picked him up at the Omni Hotel at 8 p.m. that evening. She had told him, "I will be the blonde in the white Corvette out front." She then took him back to the hotel where they negotiated a contract for meeting rooms for an event he was holding. They agreed on a price and signed the contract.
He was unable to deliver the rooms to the hotel as he had obligated, and I basically asked him to deliver the revenue anyway, because if you can't deliver the rooms and you leave a hotel in a situation where they have empty rooms and they could have sold them, he basically owed the hotel the money. So he paid the hotel, and at that point he then asked me for business advice.
Over the next several months, Charles would continue to ask Kim for advice. She would discuss his issues and provide guidance. Charles asked Kim to join him in the Sarasota-Bradenton area where he lived.
I did move to Bradenton, and he then said, how would we work together? I said I would be delighted to be a partner of his, but I would never work for him, and could not work for him given some of the circumstances that surrounded him at the time. I said, I'll sell my car, I will start a company, I will work with you, I will do whatever I can to establish that. So I sold my car. Actually, I took a loan against my car for $11,000, ultimately sold my car because I couldn't afford to pay off the loan, and ended up with the company we have today.
During this time, the couple fell in love. Kim and Charles married on October 17, 1982, on Longboat Key. The couple continued to work diligently to build the business. Their conferences featured the top names in the field. As president and CEO of the company, Kim became the driving and creative force behind its development. One of the first employees she would work with in her new venture was Deborah Rossard.
She started Money Show with the money out of her white Corvette, which was a very, very interesting time. And it was getting the company up and running, was sort of conference by conference at the beginning. Kim added the infrastructure that we needed to build and grow. We originally started doing conferences, there were 4 of us, in the US. And although the first conference we did was in 1981 in London.
Kim put her knowledge of hotel operations and room negotiations to work, setting up investment conferences in cities throughout the United States. She also immersed herself in learning the financial markets and business leadership, seeking advice from the top experts in the field and studying many publications on developing executive management teams.
Met a wonderful man by the name of Louis Rukeyser, who is a mentor and a great leader in the free market enterprise and investor movement. He is the creator of the self-directed investor. He would edit my papers. He would come down hard on me, but he taught me well. I have tremendous respect for him. And then I had the opportunity to meet so many people who taught me so much that I am forever grateful.
Building her company into a global financial media company has been a lifelong work for Kim. She recognized early the need to learn and take advice from wise counsel. She credits Bill Wise as a father and legal mentor, and Stanley Kane as a business mentor, along with other mentors such as Bill Hirons, Louis Rukeyser, Jim Michaels, Joe Battipaglia, and Steve Forbes for shaping her vision.
She was always anxious to take advantage of any kind of advice that people on the board might be able to give her, and she sought that advice.
Kim didn't grow up a trader. Kim didn't grow up in the financial world. She's taught herself and she's learned as she goes along, and she is so good at picking people and picking your brain. She will not let you sleep. She will not let you rest until she knows everything that you know about something.
I am learning to this day. One of my philosophies is you are never too young, too old to learn something from someone else in every aspect of your life.
As she was building the business, she was also building a team that she could depend upon to grow the business long into the future. The company grew into producing educational trade show and cruises in categories beyond investment and trading. In 1989, Kim recognized a changing dynamic in the market and reinvented the concept of the shows.
Those seminars weren't making financial sense anymore, and it was because the industry was evolving and we needed to evolve with it. And therefore, we needed a money show with great experts. So in 1989, the first money show was created. I think the gross revenue on that money show was $133,000. In fact, I know that's the case. It took us 5 to 7 years to break $1 million, and then there became many money shows. So you can create that multiple on your own, and it was basically, we saturated the U.S.
Events are held in major cities throughout the United States, in Canada, London, and most recently, opening venues in China and the Orient. In the mid-2000s, with advice from her friend and longtime editor of Forbes magazine, Jim Michaels, Kim envisioned the power of broadband and the internet and created MoneyShow.com, a multimedia online community featuring commentary, videos, webcasts, and blogs from the same experts who appear at Money Show live events, along with virtual e-shows, recreating the live show experience online.
Kim is basically a genius. She was in a world where not many women were successful when that company was started some 30 plus years ago. Kim had a vision, an idea. She can take both sides of having the dream, but also knowing how to execute and make the dream a reality.
I've had the privilege to know Kim for a number of years, and I only wish I had half of her energy and drive to make positive things happen. She's a good fun to be around, but she also is brimming with ideas and energy, and she's one of the reasons why America is what it is today. She exemplifies the best of the American entrepreneurial tradition.
While developing Money Show, the Githlers recognized the need to diversify assets, and in the 1990s began to invest in real estate and development projects. As with the investment seminar business, Kim was a quick learner and became actively involved in the real estate projects.
Kim is a marvelous businesswoman, and she played a major role in development of some of our real estate projects.
For Kim, success in business was paramount. However, in 1993, she decided it was time to become a mother. At age 37, Kim gave birth to Charles Emerson Githler IV on September 7, 1994, and Kim found her true passion in life.
He is the greatest gift that I will ever achieve in this life. He is his own little person. He is a great human being. He has been the greatest joy in my life. He introduces me to things in the world I would have never experienced. He is the greatest joy. He's grown up at the shows. He's badged, he's bagged, he's walked our attendees. He has worked, he has saved his money. So I try to teach him, as a mother would, about life's lessons along the way. But frankly, he's my teacher.
My mother is she's pretty fantastic of a woman. I've probably one of the more better influences I've ever had in my life. She's always and indefinitely taught me everything I needed to know.
During the years Kim was building her business, she was also focused on the responsibility of caring for others. She first became involved with Girls Inc., at that time called Girls Clubs, in the early 80s. She was inspired by Sherry Watts, a board member of Girls Inc., who Kim saw as a visionary for girls.
I believe an organization needs many things. They need intellectual property, they need brawn, they need volunteers, they need money, they need inspiration, they need believers. Any single one of you sitting in that audience can make a difference. And that is where I come from, and that is how I appreciate every single person that comes into any opportunity of a 501c3 for our community. That's what makes Sarasota an amazing place to live, because that is the lifeblood of our community. If it's in a nutshell, that is what Sarasota does. And I see it repeatedly, and it brings me great energy and joy to be around those organizations.
From her early involvement with Girls Inc., Kim expanded her focus to virtually every aspect of the community, from health to education to finance, serving on boards of nonprofit organizations and local businesses, chairing fundraising events, opening her home to important functions, and quietly working to meet the needs of the community at large with a specific heart for children. When the Sarasota YMCA decided to go into the area of foster care, Kim proposed the creation of the Community Coalition for Children, bringing together the talents and financial support of corporations and private individuals to provide for the personal and health needs of foster children. But Kim did not stop there.
In '98, when we took on foster care, we discovered that sometimes children have to be removed on an emergency basis in the middle of the night when the situation in a home was untenable. So where do you take them? Where do you keep them safe? We found a home and felt we could provide loving, temporary house parents for those children, toddlers. But we did not have the financial resources at the Y to buy this house. The minute Kim found out about it, she said, it was around Thanksgiving time, and she said, we will buy that house for you that will keep these children safe, and it will be our gift to each other as a family. And so that's Grammy's house. It's still there today. It has two loving, caring, therapeutic house parents and children who are whisked away in terror in the middle of the night find this wonderful, wonderful place. And of course, it comes back to Grammy. Kim named it in honor of her Grammy.
She created Grammy's house, for which she got a Golden Gavel from the Herald Tribune. And I guess that's who Kim Githler is. She makes places safe. She looks around her world and says, how can I make this a safer place to be?
You're constantly astonished at how much more you can do than you ever realize. She pushes boundaries. She pushes individuals to a point that you didn't realize that you were even capable. She believes more in you than anybody else. It's an extraordinary person to have in your life, and I feel so fortunate that, you know, she's been a huge part of my life.
In the year and a half that she has been on our board, she has brought significant support, great recognition. She co-chaired our gala this year, which was the most successful one we've had. And we only do this once every 3 years. We had a record number of nearly 700 people. Her ideas were wonderful, and her follow-through is just outstanding. She does what she says she's going to do, and she does it with grace and elegance.
The idea came from Kim that 40 Carats should own the building. She used her immeasurable network to have funds from Wall Street Live, which was a nonprofit group that she spearheaded several years ago. And so our seed money came from Wall Street Live. I believe it was $105,000 that kicked off our capital campaign.
The first thing we worked on together was Wall Street Live. It was fantastic, and through Kim's knowledge and her experience, she brought the greatest speakers to volunteer their time and effort. The icons of Wall Street came to Sarasota, donated their time and effort to run these. We had these day-long seminars in the evening. We ran a big dinner, and we raised lots of money for children's charities.
Kim now is so gracious, not only with the community and opening her home for all the community events. I think very few different charities hadn't been there, but she also opens her home to political, a lot of the Senate race, governor race, presidential races. She's so gracious, and she really gets out and works for them.
In January of 2010, the 27-year marriage between Kim and Charles came to an end, and they are now divorced. Kim remains focused on her business and team at Money Show, her philanthropic endeavors, along with her beloved pug Roxy and her devotion to her son Charlie, and looks to the positive in her life. KimGithler has a passion for life and the people around her. She constantly strives to build up others and looks for the good in all things. She finds strength in her faith. We ask Kim her advice for those who follow.
Energy is like, have you ever put your finger in a base of water and watched the ripple effect? I believe that in life. So that ripple effect of that energy continues to grow. If you do the right thing, you use integrity, honesty, kindness, compassion, and you grow and get as much knowledge under your belt as you can. And you take that fear that you feel in the core of your body and you say, God, I'm afraid of that. But then you say to yourself, but what possibility, what positive outcome can I get from that fear, and turn that into success.